Well, what an absolute...
Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I am Sly.
And I am Slightly Myth Spook.
Today we are joined by two special guests. Disappointment and frustration following round one.
Our old friends.
Yeah. Spook, so what did you think of round one?
I'm trying hard not to think about it, to be honest.
I was really just shattered that everything I didn't want to see, I saw.
As predicted on tape.
Poor skills, poor forward entries,
No structure.
bad ball handling, no structure.
Same old, really.
Tom Mitchell allowed to waltz around.
Who would have thought?
And you know, as far as round one goes, to me, it actually almost felt like round 16 of a season where you're 5 and 11, and you're thinking, "Geez, I wish this year would just end." That was, I don't want to, you know, be totally despondent because it is just round one, and they have time to, you know, do whatever they can do. But having seen all those things yet again, it was like,
What have you done off season?
yeah,
What'd you do? What?
how much has changed? Nothing. It just seems nothing's changed.
No. Same old.
And it just annoys me against Hawthorn. Just let Hawthorn waltz over. What's Buckley's record against Hawthorn? Like 111 or something?
Pretty much.
So,
That is, yep, 111.
Yeah, and so it's, where do you go from here? You have the same culprits in terms of skills. I feel sorry for poor Mason Cox, who seems to be getting the brunt of the disappointment and frustration.
To a point, that's probably fair, but context.
Yeah, and again, you're looking at that side. I mean, the thing that I thought with Coxie when he was trying to play full forward, he was just getting sucked so high up the ground. And I'm thinking, if you're going to play Cox as a full forward, I don't think he's a full forward. Like Jared Witts wasn't a full forward. Like Brody Grundy isn't a full forward. They're just ruck when you're trying to turn into full forwards because the recruiting has been so poor over the last 5 years. You don't have a full forward. Except the one guy you might have, you're not playing there. He gets sucked up the ground and just taken out of play. And I think if you're going to play him as a full forward, you should just stay within 30 metres of the goal face. And you kick the ball long, and if he doesn't mark it, you plant crumbers at his feet to rove it. That would seem the logical thing.
It's still though, if you have a crumb at his feet, it takes about 10 minutes to drop that far down. So maybe that's the reason why we don't have any. I think the drop marks was a glaring issue though with him. There was several that probably should have been gimmies. A few of them were under pressure, but I think he should have clunked a hell of a lot more. From memory, clunked one and ended up being a free against him.
If you look at he's dropped heaps, but I don't think any of them were like total, you should definitely know. I think there was one chest mark he dropped, but the rest were just reminiscent of watching Darcy Moore the last couple of years and Travis Cloak just constantly in packs of 2, 3, 4 players and expected to take these miracle contested marks.
I was going to add one disclaimer too, that with that sort of questionable delivery, I don't think even Buddy Franklin could mark those things coming in.
No one's going to be marking that, and it just seems like, really, what's the structure here when you're moving forward? I mean, it's fine. It's fine to bemoan, and this has been, you know, remember we lost the Bulldogs and then Buckley bemoaned the forward entries? Okay, we're kind of like a year on now and we're still doing the same thing. Why are these things not actually improving?
That's the big question. I mean, this is year 142 of this.
Yeah.
You would expect that you train, you drill, you practice, something should be giving and an improvement should be coming. But we're just treading water yet again. I mean, it's only round one, but it doesn't feel great at the moment.
Well, the problem is, being that it's round one, if we were, you know, coming off a couple of bad years, you think, okay, there's improvements. Like 2002, we had a couple of poor games at the start of the year, and you thought, geez, where are we at? But, you know, we had to come from wooden spoon to second last to, I think it was 9th, and then in 2002, that's where we really started to climb. This is the 5th year that it looks like the same stuff is going to happen.
And that's a concern.
And that's the issue. And I have never seen so many people leave the game at three-quarter time. I haven't seen so many people so despondent. And I know the criticism is going to be, oh, if you're a fan, you should just follow them regardless. It's like, yeah, you do follow them regardless. You know, I shell out quite a bit of money every year to be a member, but you do want to see improvement.
That's it.
It's like being in a marriage where you're being abused and just people are saying, well, you know, you're married, so you should stay in it. And at a certain point, you just go, look, you just start to be repaying some of the faith. And at the moment, the faith doesn't look like it's being repaid. A lot of the same issues keep cropping up. And because they cropped up round one, you almost look at it thinking, geez, is this going to be the rule for the year again?
It could be that we're just that bad.
I mean, the bad thing is a lot of people complain Buckley doesn't have a game plan. He does have a game plan. The problem is you only see it like about 40 to 50% of the time. And you'll see it in those, like, you know, the really good wins we've had over the years, or, you know, beaten Geelong a few times. You know, we've been to some other good teams. You know, we led Adelaide for 50 points. You see, okay, they can play good football, but the problem is it's not being sustained.
No, it's certainly not across 4 quarters.
Yeah, and definitely not across a year. So the big query is, if it's not being sustained, at what point you sort of say, well, this is just not going to click for us. I understand why you might try for a couple of seasons, like Geelong with playing that stupid handball game that everyone was criticising it for a couple of years, and it just clicked, and then it became like this Harlem Globetrotter team. But we've been doing this for like 4 years now. At what point do we just sort of say, I don't think this is going to quite click for whatever reason? What point do you sort of say, well, this is the personnel I have. I mean, we get constantly criticised for poor users of the ball. If that's what I have at my disposal, then maybe I just need to really fashion a game plan that accommodates them, rather than this highly skilled, daring game that we're trying to play.
A game plan that accommodates poor skills.
But kick less, that's what I'm saying. Like, go for less of these, you know, daring kicks, go for less of these fancy handball and stuff. If you don't have players that can carry it out, then what's the point? You might as well try and minimise possessions. Go, look, let's just go long, and try and use the ball less. The other thing too is just the game, and it happens so often in the last several years. You get this Collingwood side who occasionally just is full of daring, and, you know, they take the game on. It's like, you know, you see it like against Geelong last year, Melbourne the last game, you know, we took it on. This again is like where you're just seeing them really overpossess, overthink it, and no one wants to do anything.
No. Maybe they lost the game before they played this one.
Well, you do wonder how much all that spotlight over Buckley and the club does asphyxiate them to an extent where...
But they're going to let their football do the talking this year.
Well, they've done some talking.
Maybe it'd be better to be a bunch of mutes.
But it was sort of gibberish, given what they show. And I've been a big supporter of Buckley. I've really, I've defended him quite a bit in terms of where we're at. I think, geez, the game plan would be okay if you probably had guys who could use the ball better. And I think that's one problem with the side, or with the club, is their recruiting has been pretty average over the last 5 years. So he hasn't been handed like exactly a great list. I know people say, well, he's the one that's gone out and gotten these players, but I don't think it's that simplistic. But he's just said, yeah, these are the guys I want. There's scuttlebutt that, you know, he had very little say in some of those trades and drafts.
I'd still find that incredible if that was the case.
If that was the case, then we'd really have to have an internal review of the club, a proper one.
Well, not a comedic one.
No. And then you get things like, you know, the medical staff and all that. You have players who've injured and stayed injured and haven't come back, and for whatever reason that's happened, but it has happened. It's on paper. It's not like when they're revealing anything. They've had lots of soft tissue injuries and all that sort of stuff. So it just seems a lot of parts of the club are misfiring and nothing's really gelling. Whereas if you look at, you go back to, you know, the Premiership year, 2010, and the build up to that, they nailed their drafts, they nailed their trades, medical staff, you know, were on top of injuries and all that. We didn't have very many injuries or very many serious ones, and we kept our best players out in the park, and we're just not doing it now.
It's an interesting thing. I remember talking to Jack Kennedy at the AGM, and he was saying that a lot of the reasons why they didn't go through that many injuries is and this obviously goes back to the large number of rotations you were allowed to do back then, but they were conditioned to sort of recognise when their body was telling them that I'm probably on the cusp of something happening, and they would take themselves off for rest or treatment. And whether that's true or not, it sounds plausible, but it certainly worked. I mean, you know, it's a classic thing, I guess, in a premiership. We generally tend to win them when nothing happens. No distractions, no injuries, everything just clicks. But we haven't had a
click season
since then, really. 11 was fraught with injuries when we dominated, and it's just all gone pear-shaped since then.
Yeah, and I just really worry about their capacity to pull it back, to actually have the objectivity to step back and just say, okay, these are the issues we need to face, because these are the things that are keeping us back. And it almost seems like they're living in hope that something is going to change, and I don't think it is unless they are proactive and force those changes.
So you had some good comments you made post-match, which we'll list them up on the screen for people that are hard of hearing. You want to run through your observations? I thought they were particularly good.
I have to put my glasses on. Thank you. Poor skills, terrible forward entries. Not only forgot to manage horrible kick-out strategies. The whole let me play on, run 2 metres and just boot the crap out of it. Misuse of players. You know, Cox, Trelaw, I mean, as I said, Cox is ruckman. He's not a forward, and I feel sorry he's getting all this criticism because he's trying to play a position, but a genuine forward would struggle to do at Collingwood.
We had one struggling at doing it.
Not playing to strengths. Disrespect of opposition stars like Tom Mitchell. Geez, whoever would have thought he would kill us again? I mean, there wasn't any hint that had happened in the past, was it? Lack of run and presentation. I really noticed this with us. We really get blocked up at times. No one seems to want to try and break a line. They try and safely navigate this thing, and I'm guessing their instruction is don't just give up the ball. Try and find a way through, the way Hawthorn does. But again, the thing is you have poor users, so it generally will come out undone.
Yeah, I mean, just to back that up, you look at the stats, everyone's handball happy.
Yep.
Yeah, you generally, if you get 30 touches, 20 of them are probably handballs these days.
The numbers around the ball, but nobody beyond that. So we always swarm in the ball. Someone from Collingwood wins it and goes,
what do we kick it to?
What the? You know, and then you just have all these Hawthorn players just that next step, in the next part of the radius. The thing that really annoys me, I followed Collingwood since the late 70s. We've always had these battling teams until 2010. It was a highly skilled, highly classy team, and it just seems again we're gone to typical battler ethic. You know, with the presentation, the effort's there, the tackling's there, and all that, but the payoff isn't. Just you know, this again, the lacking the daring of the way we play. You know, as I said, we do have a game plan. We just can't sustain that when it doesn't click. I really wish we would see something in terms of the coach going, well, I'm going to change it up, you know, and it would be more than just sort of a token shift of one player to another position, which, you know, brings me to the email we've gotten.
Yes, we got a letter from a viewer, as they say in the classics.
Letter.
And it reads, and I'll read this slowly in case I get it wrong. G'day Ranters, that'd be us.
Yeah.
I just wanted to congratulate you on your first show, and having just watched the total frog in a blender that was Collingwood in round 1, ask you both a very serious question re Darcy Moore and Ben Reid. Do either of you think it is possible for any team, let alone a chronically dysfunctional one such as Collingwood, to actually finish top 4, having their best centre-half forward at centre-half back and their centre-half back as a centre-half forward? Furthermore, with the Pies already down by 27 points at half-time and butchering almost every 450 entry, what does it say about our coach for sticking with this setup? Surely, this is akin to Spurs playing Harry Kane as a goalkeeper, whatever that means. Or the Australian cricket team opening the batting with Hazelwood and Stark.
But they probably will be doing that soon.
It's probably, it should be pointed out that this was written prior to another scandal. And furthermore, if Buckley sticks with this setup and we continue to lose only for him to scrap it 3 or 4 games in this season, what does this say about our overall planning, given he is now in his 7th season as coach? I'm very keen to hear your thoughts. Yours rantingly, Martin from Werribee.
As far as Moore goes, to me, it doesn't seem like it's actually born of innovation. It seems to me that they've had a meeting and they've said, what we're going to try this year is rotate Cox and Grundy through full forward. We cannot afford to have another ruckman in that forward setup with one of those guys because we're too slow. So I actually think he's on. The only reason he's being moved back is because they're trying to put Cox and Grundy up forward.
So my take would be that simply it worked for one game and it worked pretty well. So the logic should be, after doing this for 2 years and it worked for one game, let's have another crack at this.
But the thing is too, you look at Moore when he has moved forward, he looked dangerous.
Well, I mean, when he was moved forward in the last quarter...
Yeah. And I actually think a lot of opposition coaches would be now facing Collingwood and thinking, don't have to worry about Moore, he's down at centre-half back. And he might have a good game or whatever, but, you know, it's better if he has a good game at centre-half back rather than kicking 5 goals at full forward, which he's capable of doing, very capable of doing. So to me, that really is why they've moved him rather than just, you know, it was like, oh, you know, he could be really well used in that position. And I know they'll argue, oh, well, we've got some good intercept marks of Howe and more. But, you know, Reed's a really good intercept mark. And I know he's lost something in his kicking, but his
ability to read the play hasn't diminished. He's still exceptionally good.
And his counter-attacking kicking was brilliant. You look at the premiership year and the grand final year.
And you probably find with Reed too that the delivery from the opposition is far better than his own. So that's why he struggles up forward. He can mark everything that comes his way in defence.
The biggest query for Reed is he actually going to play the whole year.
That's a query that we've been having for a number of years.
And you know, nothing against Ben Reed because I think he's a champion, but
his durability is in question.
Yeah, and if I was Collingwood planning out the team for the year, guys like Reed and Wells would be my 23, 24 players. And if I got them out there for 20 games, it'd be awesome.
20 games combined.
20 games in 4 years. But they're unlikely to do it. So I actually think Moore should be played up forward. Moore, to me, up forward is a very threatening presence. The really ridiculous thing is he's in his 4th year now. This is about the time he would be starting to really realise his potential and to threaten teams. He could be our version of Joe Danaher, but we're playing him down back. And I also reckon part of the reason they moved him is because of the criticism of how much he's being bullied up forward because he's getting double and triple teamed and all that sort of stuff. But again, that's up to the coaching staff to work out a game plan that is not going to constantly land the ball on top of his head and have free opposition hit him.
I think there's one other thing that's hampered Moore's development too, is that he's had no fall to play off for his career. You know, Trav had Anthony for a while. He probably should have had Trav, but Trav was a greatly diminished shadow of him for myself.
And just to go back for that, I really, you know, I don't know, maybe Travis Clark will write an autobiography one day, but I really question how much Travis Clark's deterioration was due to this sort of game plan where it just kept getting bombed on his head and he just kept getting 2, 3, 4 players hanging off him and running him into him and banging into him. You know, how much did he deteriorate in that time because of this game plan that just put him under such physical pressure? And, you know, and this is why I sort of defend Cox. I mean, look at Raven. Cloak was a champion and he struggled to perform in this form line. Why are people expecting Cox to suddenly be the reincarnation of Gary Ablett, Tony Lockett and Wayne Carey combined?
Or more to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, you know, it's just not going to happen. So I just find it ridiculous that they haven't found a way to maximise their strengths. And that's what we always say, maximise their strengths. Get Treloar on the outside, get Adams on the inside, get more leading from full forward. You know, and I'd even do something left field, like throw Howe up forward, and I know I'll probably get mocked for this. I'd even consider throwing someone like Langdon up forward because
you can't be serious.
Because he's a really good mark.
He's a good mark,
but he's a problematic disposalist. So I'd rather have him kicking a goal
he's got a lot of friends there.
rather than having him kick out of half back. I'd rather just him leading up, marking, and taking a shot and stuff like that. But it's just that sort of stuff. That's actually innovative to me. That's again. Where I look at like someone like Langdon, I think kicking is not his strength. Marking is a really good strength. Right, he's a great mark. So how do we maximise his asset? Play him up forward and see if you can play him as a lead-up, marking, mobile forward. And then you get with him what you probably were trying to get with Main and Goldsack and those sort of guys playing. And you, at the moment, you really have to just play to what you have in your hand. You know, we can't talk about Tom Lynch next year or whatever. He's not on our list now. So we just got to do what we can do with our list now. And I just don't think there's enough of that sort of lateral thinking. I remember, I think it was in 2005, we went over to Subiaco to play Fremantle and half the team was injured and Malthouse played Lecure at centre-half forward. And we won. He attacked the ball and all that sort of stuff. It's that sort of stuff, I think, where, you know what, do something a little bit different, because going to the other point in this email, what he's doing isn't working. And, you know, I've really been hoping it'll gel and then that'll be, you know, the bad performance will be the exception rather than the rule, but it's not gelling. So you should be trying to change it up. And to me, if they get to like 0-3 or 1-4 or whatever the case, which could very likely happen.
Very likely.
They will feel such pressure that it'll just become unbearable. And then you will start to see like capitulations.
I think the levy will break big time.
Yeah, you know, and they can't just keep sort of playing like that. And I sort of wish... Buckley, I know he's got a 2-year contract, but if he has a poor year this year, I really think he'll struggle to move into next year.
You'd have to think, doing this under questionable circumstances, that there's a get-out clause for, you know, well, you would think one party, but maybe both parties to keep face, but this isn't sustainable. If this is what we're going to do, you can't pretend that 2 more years of this is going to be good for anyone.
And I wish Buckley would just go to the players and just go, you know, go out, have fun, take the game on. People aren't expecting us to win, so, you know, don't feel pressure on yourselves. Just go, be daring. And let's get rid of all the little chippy shit, going sideways, backwards, around, and all that just sort of stuff. He should model a team more on the way he played, which is long and direct and less fucking around. First swear word. Less fucking around. Second swear word.
I'll beep him out.
No. I'll fucking beep your beeps out. Just show us something that is not more of the same, because seriously, I know you're going to get to the defenders of the club and all that saying you should support them no matter what.
It's beyond that.
I'm there. I've pre-booked seats for the first half of the year and all that sort of stuff. But again, you need to start repaying some of that loyalty, because that's just not a one-way street. And anyone who thinks it's a one-way street is just being unrealistic. At some point, you want to see some return. And for me, all I want, and it annoys me that the bar's gone from contesting grand finals to just fucking show me something when you go out there where I can say, we lost, but at least I saw us trying some sort of game plan. I can see it form, I can see the structures, and we'll just outplay it, rather than just sort of looking at what the fuck is going on yet again.
Well, look, maybe if you want to be hopeful, this could be a great wake-up call.
Oh, you'd hope it'd be something.
Because clearly they wouldn't have gone into this game thinking that this was going to be the outcome.
No.
And
that's what I said.
They seriously overestimated where they were, if that was the case.
Last week I said, I'm not happy if we lose, but I don't want to just see them sort of go and play this shit football. And they did that. I hate losing, but at least showing me that you've competed. And I know they're contesting and all that, but it's just, again, that sort of murky, crappy football that always comes undone, which always just leaves you, banging your head going, geez, really? Is that the best we're going to have? No. All right, and that's why we got this. For people who followed the Collingwood Rant, a few years ago we had something called the CSM meter. CSM, in case you don't know, stands for
Collingwood shits me.
So, and back then I had a meter measuring how much they're shitting us. This year, what I'm going to do is, for every loss, I'm going to add an hour to this clock.
Is this potentially one of those clocks that when it really overwinds, that like springs out and the hands fly?
It could explode. So if it gets to 12 o'clock, which would mean we're out of finals contention in all likelihood, unless you get in on 11 wins or whatever it is, it means you've really shit us big time. For every win, I'll wind it back an hour. We're now at 1 o'clock, Collingwood, of you shitting us.
It's just a 24-hour clock?
It should be a 400-hour. Yeah, there's no. I don't want you to shit us that much. So.
And you'll upset the bear.
The bear. I mean, look how upset he's already.
We don't have a gag about the bear.
No,
it's just there.
He's a prop.
It's the bear that's there.
Yeah.
So I guess that pretty much winds up Collingwood versus Hawthorn. It's probably best forgotten, to be honest.
Was it Collingwood versus Hawthorn? I thought it was Hawthorn versus which stats?
Yeah, it could be. Could be more of that.
Alright, so on to the next segment. So for our next segment, we're going to actually look at a few things that have been mentioned about Collingwood in the media. And we're just going to make some little comments on them, some observations. Firstly, I'm just going to start with Collingwood themselves. Nathan Buckley declaring that we couldn't handle Hawthorn's pressure.
Do you think so?
It's like, why? It beggars belief. You couldn't handle Hawthorn's pressure. It's like, what game are we playing? I mean, I understand it's round one, there's going to be an acclimation process and all that, but it's really like...
Nobody told me there'd be pressure.
It's like, what do you think he was going to do?
What are they doing with the pressure?
Oh, jeez,
If we had music rights, we could play under pressure.
The Great Mason Cox debate. Robert Walls has declared Coxie won't make it.
Well, there's an authority on not being able to make it.
1 round in. 1 round in. And I should point out to, and I know people say this is an excuse, it did actually rain pretty heavily until about 90 minutes before the game. So the ball would have been a little bit wet. And apparently we struggled to handle the pressure. So you can understand why he grasped some marks.
He's useless beneath his knees apparently as well.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. He probably hasn't been down that far.
Oh, Collingwood will bring him down there. Jaden Stevenson, fantastic debut. Number 35 tradition, first draftee at Collingwood wears number 35. Please get the fuck rid of this tradition. I understand it's meant to honour Presti's sacrifice in the 2010 grand final when he ruled himself out, and what a great club man he is. But what does this mean? So here, number 1 draftee, You get the number of a great clubman, and you should honour that tradition. The rest of you draftees, you can be pricks, but you live up to this tradition. I absolutely fucking hate this tradition.
Yeah, I agree. I really think that, you know, right from the outset, you want to make a number your own.
Yep.
You don't have an identity where you're wearing that jumper for 12 months.
Yep, and I want to see another 35 running around there, like I saw Peter Dacos, like I saw Simon Presti Giacomo. I want to see a player make that number his own, like, you know, Elliott's making 5 his own after Maxwell and Buckley and all that sort of stuff. I want to see another 100 gamer go up on the 100 game like a fucking Collingwood under 35. So to me, this tradition, while well intentioned, it doesn't work. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Jonathan Brown, Collingwood's training lacks spark and intensity, he said last week. Sorry, Jonathan, you're probably right.
And could you just change that training word to game day?
And apparently it lacked pressure too. So it lacked the number. Okay.
And Mason Cox was shit at training.
Yeah, he dropped a lot of things.
There's a pattern forming.
I'm actually going to jump one because I want to go back to it as the last time. This is not really the media. Fucking free kick against Tom Langdon for running and attacking the ball, tapping it out, and taking out Jack Gunston's feet, or, you know, Gunston really sort of taking himself out, and Langdon being penalised. What the fuck is with this rule? So you're saying a player in that situation has no option. No. He can't attack the ball, because there's no way Langdon would have made it to that ball without diving. He had eyes only for the ball. He actually tapped it to a teammate, and you're saying, no, he can't do any of that. He has to actually hang back and
watch the goal get kicked.
Yeah, or wait until the guy picks it up and then kicks it, you know, or tackle him from there. This is a stupid rule. One guy in 150 years of football got a broken leg because someone slid in, and there's a fucking rule now that he's introduced, which is just making the game murky as hell. Is it too high, or is it taking out the legs? I don't know. And it's against the spirit of the game if you do not let the player attack the ball,
especially in defence.
Oh, but that's like, when that free was paid, I was like, what else was he meant to do?
No, that's it.
You actually are saying he has no option. It's ridiculous, you know.
Langers, you have our sympathy.
Yep, for playing for Collingwood. And the last one, Mark Robinson wrote this article on Nathan Buckley, and I've just actually highlighted one paragraph. And Mark Robinson writes, colleague Gerard Watley says the blood riding on Buckley from members of the media before a game had been played this year is outrageous. I disagree, because it's more reality writing. Are you fucking kidding me? He's been re-signed for 2 years. You should not have any speculation on his future until results demand that you have speculation. That's not reality writing, that is muckraking, it's shit reporting, but what else would you expect? It's really terrible, just fucking vultures circling and trying to kill a prey before it's fucking dead.
Absolutely. Mark Robinson, you're a disgrace to the family name!
I don't know who Robinson is, Spooky. Of course, that's a Lost in Space reference.
Yeah, it could be. Or Caruso.
So that's what we saw in the media this week. Let us know if you have any thoughts or any stuff that we should actually highlight next week. Snuff.
We've already been snuffed.
Yeah. This week we are playing Greater Western Sydney at the MCG at the novel time of 4:35, I believe it is.
It's Saturday afternoon.
On Saturday, yeah, that's extremely novel also. Spooky, what are your thoughts on Collingwood's chances in this game?
God help us. I watched GWS destroy Footscray on the weekend. I have memories of them destroying us in the JLT series. If we don't lose this by 10 goals, there's potentially something wrong, which there is something wrong, but I think we'll get an absolute pounding. I think GWS are probably close to the best side in the competition this year, or should be. So, you know, you take that for what it is, you're going to get beaten by an exceptionally good side.
On Saturday, they won't be close to the best side, they'll be close to us.
No confidence whatsoever.
I think we'll win this, and then we'll lose to Carlton the week after.
Yin yang.
I think GWS will really set themselves to this game. There's queries over whether they're going to be a genuine premiership threat. They got humiliated by Richmond on the prelim last year. I think they'll say, let's make a fucking statement. You know, I've done all the swearing this episode. Let's make a statement this year. And what better club to do it against but the might of Collingwood? So I think they will.
17 other sides that say the same thing every week.
Yeah.
The might of Collingwood.
Yeah.
They might? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So, but I think they are vulnerable. They're vulnerable at the MCG. That's just the reality of most interstate clubs who come there and haven't played very often. I mean, Collingwood will be stung by their shitful performance last week. So I actually think we're a really good chance. Coxie is going to miss with
he'll probably
suspension.
He's off in a week, which I guess we'll hear tomorrow that he'll accept that. You wouldn't be challenging that one. Which means, welcome back, Jared Blair.
Yeah. So, who do you think they'll actually, if there's changes, who do you think
I'm an advocate last week of McClarty's. I'd be probably bringing him in. I'd be throwing Darcy up forward, Reedy down back, and bring McClarty in.
Well, that's what I'd be doing too. I would actually just go right back to basics. More up forward. Fucking get Treloar on the outside. Get Adams in the middle. Get Pendlebury's look very iffy this year, so I don't know if he's carrying injuries or not. Put Reid at centre half back. Get Langdon out of defence. I don't know what the issue with Schoenberg is. He's had an extremely quiet.
He played the VFL game on Friday,
yeah.
But I haven't read anything about how that went.
But he played the intra-club match. He didn't play either of the practice matches, as far as I'm aware. Even though the practice matches they have benches of 28. So if he's anywhere near ready, I'll be throwing him up. Because, again, it comes down to what's worked. We know what hasn't. Well, let's start to make some changes. And let's start to make, lay some building blocks for the future. So I actually would make some web changes. I think Crocker was maybe injured.
And Smith's done his hammy, so he's out for a month.
Yeah. So Smith's out for 2 years. And Collingwood with soft tissue injuries, they are killers. So I would really look at getting some pace and desperation in there. Kirby, Dacos. Dacos went off with an ankle injury, but or Callum Brown. Get these guys in there who are in your last team for last year, who actually showed some vigour and energy and daring and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you look at the performance of Murray and Stevenson on the weekend. They had a red hot crack. Maybe the exuberance of youth is the injection they need.
Well, they need something because again, what they've been doing isn't working. For Solo's probably also a chance to come back in. He was meant to have had a good reserves game, handy. But again, it's how fit is he? Yeah. I'm a really big fan of Faz. I don't know why he gets all the criticism he does. It's like people expect him to kick 60 goals or something.
Or run both ways.
Yeah. I just look at Collingwood too with the forward line, I think. Which forward's prospered in the last...
We have a forward line.
Yeah, last 6 years. Which forward has really prospered in that side, in the forward line? You can't really sort of criticise one player for being ordinary when most of them have been ordinary.
Well, predominantly it's a different forward line every week too.
Yeah, I know
it's like juggling.
I know they've been subject to injuries and all that, but again, I think Faz is potentially a really good asset. A couple of years ago, he kicked 25 goals in half the season and was our leading goal kicker.
He should be easily good for 30 or 40 a year. Yep. You would think.
Yep.
If he wants to hang around.
So anyway, your tip is
GWS Surrey punters by 5 to 10 goals.
I tip Collingwood by 13 points, and then we'll lose to Carlton by 36.
There is merit in that statement. Or what do we lose to both?
I'll be 0-3, and then
we get angry. Alright, so we have differing views on the outcome of this week's game. Let's hope one of us is right.
Let's hope just me. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's obviously my preference as well. I'd hate to be right on mine, but I think I will be.
Unfortunately, yeah, but maybe we can throw them off the time of the game. Maybe we can just email GWS and we'll have afl@yahoo.com and just say the time of the game has been moved to 6:30, and they'll just show up late and we'll
show them the clock.
And we'll have 2 hours start on them and probably kick a point in the first 12 seconds and wait 2 hours for the kick out.
You beauty.
And
I'm looking forward to it.
The GWS will show up for the last 90 seconds, kick it out and kick a goal. Alright, so that's it for our preview. And for our final segment of the week, we're going to pose one question to ruminate over, and then we'll actually discuss it next week, but we'd like to hear your views. Should Steele side bottom be returned permanently to a position up forward? So that's something to think about. Like to hear your views, and we'll talk about it next week.
And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for those people that did this week. For the first episode, we did get some good feedback and some quite a few views, which is good. But keep them coming. Click that like button, click subscribe, and thanks for watching.
And the person who clicked unlike, I will find you and I will kill you. Sorry, that's a line from Taken. But thanks to everyone who's come from the various message boards and followed us.
That line, was it delivered by Liam Neeson or his understudy?
I don't know. If it's his understudy, he should be shot.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks. See you next week.
See ya. Go Pies.
Bye.